have no idea what you have unleashed.
What the hell?
How did you get out of that plane? There's not a single scratch on your body.
You are alive because you were cursed.
Cursed? By what?
The ultimate evil. Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
You saw that, right?
She did something to me.
The very essence of evil calls to you now.
Get her, Nick! Kick her ass! I'm scared.
It takes a monster to defeat a monster.
Oh, that's my face! That's my face! Run!
Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Alex, I'm going to start with you. What I really loved about the film was that I feel like you captured a bit of the camp of the old films. A lot of the humor lies in the fact that you're playing with these legendary characters who have been parodied, who've been brought back to life, and even just casting Russell Crowe and letting him play with that and really letting him work a fair amount of performance humor in rather than sort of like a punchline type of humor was really fun to watch.
Thank
Can you talk about crafting that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for us is that we don't ever want the humor to kind of be coming from reaching for a joke or doing one-liners. You know, I think the funniest stuff is human behavior. People reacting to crazy situations is really funny, and so that was how we wanted to try.
And that was never where the humor came from in the original films, you know?
Yeah,
It was never like a set-up punchline type of humor.
Yes, that's right. It's those films are character films, you know what I mean? And so the idea that we were reaching for genuine weird reactions, you know, Sophia tickling Tom, you know, unexpectedly in the middle of this like very weird intense scene.
How did it happen?
Between takes, he was stuck underneath me, and between takes, he could not move. And it
Poor man.
started
Poor
tickling
man.
him. While he was laughing, he told
I
me,
feel so
"Do
sorry
that,
for him.
do that."
So you just started tickling Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, do that when we start filming?
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's how also Alex came up with that idea of licking Tom on stage. Like, do that, lick him.
Yeah, we were shooting a scene, it was like really intense, and Sophia's just beating Tom up for like 10 minutes, and I needed a laugh, and I was like,
Lick him.
I think you gotta lick his face. Yeah. Tom was like, wait, what?
Don't say that to me.
Okay, I got it. And then that was it.
Courtney
Lick
did a
Courtney.
take where he licked Tom, but it got cut out too.
Lick
Tried
him.
to lick Tom too?
Don't you listen to them.
Every take, Courtney was licking Tom. We were like, Courtney, it doesn't work for
I
the
didn't
scene.
want you to do it.
And don't tell them about the horses though. Anyway,
First day.
Courtney
Let's
was
hear about
licking horses.
What about the horses, Courtney?
nothing. I don't know. I've never seen a horse in this movie. Nothing.
Courtney, talk about your character in the film.
Well, General, I've already got another star, haven't I? No, I'm just trying to keep these two in line. And you know, I thought we had an arrangement, an agreement that you would take care of me and you would do what you're supposed to and get him. What are you doing here? That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to be 100 clicks from here. What are you doing here? So, you know, it's really rough. And I know my superiors, when they heard that, you know, we got to deal with this guy again, they looked at me. I said, no, not him again.
Send me out.
So, you know, I'm just trying to get, you know, so that we don't have to send the entire regiment down to rescue them, which is what I had to do this time because there was this gigantic hole in the earth, and now the Kurds or who are they coming in? Who was coming in to?
Let's just call them insurgents.
Insurgents were coming in. Let's not be specific.
Specify which insurgents. That sort of takes away the fun of the movie.
Exactly.
What have I unleashed?
Come on. Courtney, what are we talking
What
about?
have I
here, man?
unleashed?
We're talking about the mummy.
I mean, do you want to get into the different sort of tribal warfares that are going on in the region right now? I mean, maybe we can talk about it if
Don't
you
say
want.
anymore. Turn off his
Dick,
mic.
you play Tom's sort of partner in crime in this. It opens with a really fun action sequence, or I mean, after the opening, with you and Tom sort of trying to rescue this treasure from the insurgents. We won't specify where those treasures are from.
Unless Courtney wants to.
It's about a horse.
It's about a horse.
Well, Bill, not CNN, but we can talk about it.
It's about a horse. Yeah.
Talk about doing that action sequence with Tom. It's a really big number. It's the first time I've ever really seen you do a massive action sequence of that
First time
nature.
I've ever done it, yeah.
What was it like?
It was really intense. You know, Tom says he wants to do his own stunts, and you hear about that, and you read about how he hangs onto a plane and he jumps off of buildings, and then you do it with him, and he's really doing it, and it really hurts. You jump off a building, you watch it on a movie, and you think like, well, I'm sure there's a technique to this madness. And the technique is you hit the floor and it hurts. And you get up and you do it again until the shot is right. And so it was a really wild experience. It was fun because he's so passionate about it and he loves it so much. And so it was actually cool to go through it, but that man puts himself through it for these movies.
When you're doing action sequences like that and your co-star is, he's doing them all himself,
Yeah.
do you feel a sort of a sense of like, okay, I guess I should do this too?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not going to call the stuntman in to do it with Tom.
That would have been a cool conversation. Hey, Tom, you're Tom Cruise and all. I'm going to pass. I didn't really see that working out in my favor. Honestly, when Alex asked me to do this, I wanted to do it with Tom. Tom Cruise is the biggest action star of my life. And so I wanted to see what it was like to do with it. I wanted to keep up with him in those two shots. I wanted to jump off a building with him. And I was glad I did it. I don't know if I ever need to do it again, but it was really fun to do.
Do you think next time around you can call in a stunt coordinator or a stunt person
Well, I
when you're
think
with
next
Tom?
time Vale's going to be in a wheelchair eating like potato chips and being like, run, Nick, run.
Sophia, this isn't giving anything away. From the trailer, we can see that you are the mummy in the film.
Am I?
Tell me, I'm not giving any. That's not a spoiler of any kind. What was it like day in and day out for you? You're clearly. I mean, I saw the movie the other night. You're decked out in every shot that you're in. I'd imagine you had 5-6 hours of makeup every morning going into the day.
Spot on. Yes, we did 24 screen tests to find the all 4 stages of the mummy when she comes in modern day, and to find the ancient Egyptian looks as well. And once that was found, the longest makeup was 6 hours. The shortest one was 4. It was quite a tedious work. It was done on a massage table, but it was not as glamorous as it sounds. I had 6 makeup artists around me poking me with tiny brushes. But
Whole
it was
body too, right?
Huh?
Like whole body, right?
Yeah, whole body. Yeah, the longest one, the one that was 6 hours, was the whole body. Yes, and it's interesting because at first you're sort of reluctant to go there because you understand because it's long and because it's like long hours you spent trying to discover that look, but then you can't do without it. It was really essential then that I had it on in order to play the character. I felt different once I had it on, and people looked at me differently when I had it on. So we transform constantly emotionally, and I think we should embrace doing it as well physically, and I think embracing it is the only way to go about it, because if you just
Now,
truly.
Jake talked about doing action sequences with Tom Cruise. You have some amazing fight sequences with Tom Cruise. Can you talk about doing your fight scenes with Tom Cruise when Courtney's done interviewing you as well? The side interview
Courtney's
going on.
making me laugh. I don't know if he's still thinking
Are you
about
from
the horse
Courtney? Are you?
thing. What's going on, Courtney?
What did you say?
Thinking about the horse thing. What?
I'll tell you what's going on. I've done a lot of press with Courtney. I love this man. He listens so intently that he makes sounds when people talk. So she'll make a good point and I'll hear, And I love it. I'll take
that as a compliment.
It's the ultimate compliment.
Oh, great. Thanks, Courtney.
Can you talk about doing the fight scenes that you, coordinating the fight scenes with Tom Cruise that you did?
You know what? I would love Tom Cruise to double me. He's so good. One day maybe. No, yes, it's interesting to see him do all that because he's so good, and he did all his stunts like in the course of 3 days before my stunts, and I did not know how I was going to keep up with him. And it was wire work with impact, and it's quite a shock, you know. And I think your brain somehow think it's real. And yeah, it was quite a process. But Tom was really present. He was in my face at all time, making sure I was hooked correctly. He explained me how the rigging worked, and he's really good at explaining. He wants people to understand how everything works when they're on set, and it's really essential to understand how it works, to do it, you know, as best as possible, at the least amount of time as possible, because you want to save your body, of course. But yeah, he's pretty extraordinary that way.
Alex, you know, as everyone has said here, and everyone usually says Tom is known for doing all of his own stunts for the most part. There is a shot in the film, a scene and a shot of rats crawling all over Tom Cruise. Did he actually have rats crawling all over him?
We had rats on set, but the thing is, rats will not stick to you. If you drop rats on a body, they'll just run away. So to get what we wanted to do, we had to do CG rats. And I was incredibly nervous about the CG rats, because I was like, this better not look terrible.
No, it looks great.
But we actually used real rats, modeled them, and then replicated them in a computer. So technically,
That was
they
the
were real.
nastiest scene. I was praying that they weren't real.
Was this the first time that Tom Cruise wasn't bummed he couldn't do his own stunt? Or?
He was like, well, where are the rats? And we're like, well, they don't want to show up, man. I don't know what to tell you. And
Tell them to show up.
Yeah, well, we tried, but no, he was good. So all that stuff that he's doing when he's, you know, he's miming it, and the incredible digital animators made it look amazing.
No, it's interesting to hear Sofia saying that she was tickling Tom, and then you guys put it in the movie, and there were other moments where people were doing stuff on set that you were still putting in the movie. Do you find it difficult to do that when you're making a film this big, to find the time to still sort of throw in new ideas all the time that happen on set?
Somebody once told me that you have to be so prepared as a director that you are willing to throw it all away in the moment for something better. And I think you're looking for the spontaneous magic that comes with improvisation, but you can really only do that if your structure is there and everyone knows what they want and they want to get out of the scene. I think part of the job of making it feel fresh is actually to look for those moments all the time and to push it. And here's the thing, in the editing room, if it doesn't work, you go, it didn't work, I'm going to cut it out.
Talk about casting. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I remember every morning, like, we would rehearse at length, you know, in order to find what worked the best. Yeah. And I remember we were talking, you, me, and Tom, for quite a while in the Crusaders chamber, and something essential that came out of this conversation that was not necessarily in the script, but that ended up being in the movie and made sense, was that because something was not making sense, and we discovered that maybe Nick's character was supposed to agree to the pact.
Yeah, that she needed to break. It wasn't just about beating his body. It was about getting him to say, "I give in to you." Yeah. And it gave kind of an organizing principle to the fight and what she was trying to get out of him. Because she's so much stronger than him, she could have just beaten him and that would have been it. But she needed him to say something, and that came from Sofia saying, you know, I just want to understand why I'm continuing to beat him. You know.
That was something that Did you want to? I'm sorry.
No, no, but that's the beauty of working with people that care so much. I was just stuck. I was just stuck on one simple thing, and I could not go past that. And Tom and Alex were here, and then we kept talking about it at length. I said, I don't know why there's something that doesn't make sense, and that's how this came up.
No, but it's
that
true.
reason.
I think actors are the best protectors of obviously not it's their motivation, but they're like, well, if I don't believe it, why would the audience believe it? So I have to understand why I'm doing it, you know? And I think it's terribly important as the director to listen to those things when they come up.
One of the things that I liked about the film is that I think with most special effects driven sort of big studio movies right now, a lot of the comic book movies, fantasy films, there's really one directive or objective by the end of the film for the main character. Mm-hmm. There's something's going to destroy the world and they have to save it. Right. And with Cruise's character in this, he's actually kind of a bit more wrapped up in this sort of final climax. There's a bit more, there's more layers to his issues, and he kind of can't just save the world. Can you talk about crafting that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, one of the most classic paradigms of a movie like this is the Portal movie, and you've all seen it a million times. The bad guy wants to open the portal, and the devil's going to come through, or he's going to bring another universe through, or whatever it is. And so that leaves the hero in the position of having to stop the portal from opening. And you've seen that so many times. And there are great versions of it, but we thought, well, if we want to make this more personal, what if he was the portal? And if actually he becomes the vessel by which the devil will enter the world, suddenly there's real stakes for your character, and you're putting him in a situation where if he fails, he becomes the devil.
Absolutely. You talk a lot about sort of having new things happen on set and putting those in the films. Jake, you're known a lot for your improvisation, your films with Joe Swanberg, where you basically improvise the majority of the films, if not the whole film. How much improvisation were you doing on set, and were you surprised or at anything that you were doing?
You know, not a lot actually. You know, it was we would open things up a little, but it was more, you know, Alex and Tom had a pretty clear idea of what they wanted. Now we would do a lot of takes, and we would do a lot of takes in different ways, but it didn't really feel like the kind of movie where we'd be set up in a shot and then we would just open it up and we would see what would happen. It would be more, they would sometimes run the camera and let you just keep shooting, but you would kind of stay right where it was, and the changes would be in performance rather than in dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Courtney, as the general, you're not really the general though. You added a star. What was your ranking again, sir?
It was I don't
It doesn't really matter.
I don't know.
Colonel.
Colonel
of Truth.
Colonel Greenway.
Colonel Greenway.
You are the guy sort of
Should have
keeping
been
these
general.
two
Next time it'll be general. Okay.
keeping these two treasure hunters in check, but there's I think a humor to your performance as well as in playing the boss. Talk about finding that humor rather than just playing the boss.
The humor comes in the situation. He's an ass. I mean, you're going to tell you're supposed to be 100 miles away, and I know that, and you know that, and you're going to tell me a lie in front of my face. But the clicker is that then when he tells it, and then Annabelle shows up, and she slaps him, and so we all of us know what. Come on, you're going to say it now. You're going to tell the truth. You're going to say what. And he's a classic. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? It's like we all know what's going on. Just say it. Say it. Say it. I want you to say it. And he won't say it. I mean, he's classic. He's a classic guy. Okay, all right. We're going to have to put you down and then rub your head. I don't know.
Alex, one of the most incredible sequences of the film is we've seen it in the trailer, which is the plane where everyone's sort of bouncing around in what I think is like zero gravity kind of thing.
Yeah.
Talk about crafting that and shooting that. Obviously, there's a fair amount of special effects there at a certain point, but then there's also a lot of practicals going on.
So there's a scene, there's a plane crash sequence, and in the plane crash, there's a scene where Tom and Annabelle are spinning through the plane, and we did that in a real plane going straight down. So the plane is called the Vomit Comet. It's called that for a reason, because pretty much everybody was throwing up on the plane.
TC vomit?
TC and Annabelle did not. It was kind of amazing. But here's how it works. You rocket up to the sky at the speed of a rocket, heading to space. It evens out. And then you free fall straight down for 22 seconds, plummeting toward Earth. And in that window of time, you go into zero G, and that's when we would roll camera.
So you're actually in the air and plummeting?
We're actually in the air. So there are no visual effects in that shot where Annabelle and Tom are spinning through the plane, because we were doing that for real.
How many times did you have to do it?
64 times.
Serious?
64 times over the course of 2 days, yeah.
That's insane.
It was crazy. It was nuts. We did it. We did it for real.
And they did not throw up?
They did not throw up, although we had grips carrying
They're
lights
laughing like you're lying to me, so I don't know what...
It's Courtney's just figuring out what the zero G was, and he is freaking out up here.
What, he didn't understand?
I thought it was when you go up here and do like that.
No, zero G is when you
Like
plummet
that.
toward Earth.
Please.
He was mouthing, I would not do that.
Yeah.
Were you up there as well while they were doing
Of course not. No, I had to look at the
Supervise down
director
on the ground.
on the monitor.
He was supervising.
It would be irresponsible of
There's
me.
a lot of
to have been up there.
responsibilities down here on the earth.
You were the guy down in
Thank
down
you.
in
Look at the
Village?
monitor.
The monitor.
Yeah,
This looks good.
Yeah, we were shooting in
Say
Bordeaux, France, where they make lovely wine. So you just should have some wine at the monitor while everyone's up there
Do it
throwing
again.
up.
Do it again. Yeah.
Do it again one more time, 64 times, please.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a microphone in their hand and wants to ask a fun question?
Quick.
Better be fun.
I got to see the movie yesterday at the premiere, and I was
Cool.
at the Q&A, and it was great. I was wondering, there were a lot of shots in the desert. Where was that filmed? How hard was it to shoot, like, in some of those locations?
We shot in Namibia, and it was honestly one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life. It was just gorgeous. And that village that you see at the beginning that we blow up was not there before we got there. So we came and we built that whole village, and the buildings were built to collapse and then reset. So we could just keep doing takes over and over.
You had
again.
to put it right back the way it was.
Right back the way it was.
No tire tracks or anything.
It was crazy. I think they left the village up, though, and now it's a tourist attraction in Namibia. So go to Namibia and you'll see the village.
Next question.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I wanted to ask each of you, what was your favorite scene in The Mummy and why?
My favorite was actually in Namibia, in the dunes, because it's one of the, if not the oldest desert in the world. It's the only place in the world where the dunes meet the ocean that way, and it was quite magical. It was beautiful, and it's like the one place that gave us, I think, the most context for the background of the mummy. It felt like real, like what maybe Egypt and back then would feel like. So, and it was extreme. Like the sound is also something that's quite different in the dunes. So you feel like you're in a time capsule. Yeah.
The rest of you want to answer that? What your favorite scene to shoot?
I did. I jumped off a building as it exploded with Tom, and it was my favorite because as the fire engulfed us, I was sure I was a dead person. And when we landed and nobody was freaking out, I realized I wasn't on fire and I was alive. So it's just my favorite that it was happened and it was over.
And I think my favorite scene was the helicopter ride. I really loved, well, and it was the one where the helicopter, it was really windy out. We said, we're not going up, it's too windy. And the guy was like, this is windy, get in the ship, get in here. Because Vietnam, that's some wind, this is nothing. So I was and we got in there and they said no pictures of Tom. And Tom was hanging out the plane taking pictures, and so we said, okay, well, go take a picture. So it was fun. He put us all at ease. He's a fun guy.
Alex, I'm curious, I want to change the question for you. What was the hardest scene for you to shoot as the director?
There's a scene when they first discover. It's a tough question to answer because many of the scenes were very challenging, but that's part of the fun of it. The first time they unearth the mummy in her tomb.
Everything kind of collapsed. Sinkhole, basically?
It's actually inside. They get to the bottom and they discover that there's a massive mercury well. And in the mercury well, her sarcophagus is chained down, and it's a huge space. And when you see the wide shots in that space, none of that is CG except for the mercury. That was a set, the whole thing. It was a massive set. Annabelle had 8 pages of straight dialogue, and then Tom and Jake are kind of having their own story. And so it's a tremendous amount of coverage because you're basically putting a camera on everybody in a huge space, and it starts at the top of this big set, and they walk down steps that kind of go like this, and then they spread out. And we had like 5 days to do it, which sounds like a lot, but think 8 pages of dialogue, huge space. Every time you move a camera around, you have to remove a wall. So half of the stage would have to be moved aside. So just logistically, it was a whole thing, and that was very challenging,
Fascinating, because I think everybody would assume that what you say would be a CGI or an action sequence, and it's like, no, it's the one with the most dialogue on the biggest set and having the time to get all the coverage that you need.
We wanted to go practically. We wanted to go a little old school in this movie and shoot on real sets and go to real locations, and I think immerse the audience in a more real experience, which is why we went to do the 0G of it all, because we could have shot that easily against a green screen with wires, but ultimately the human eye is very discerning, and you would have known something didn't quite feel real about it. So we thought, let's just put the audience in the plane as it's going down.
That's amazing. Hats off, because you didn't have to do that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the fact that, testament to Tom and you, that you said we want to do this the right way, and I had no idea that was 8 pages. It's not, I'm serious. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next question.
Hello. So this is so Sofia, since you in your career you've been in so many movies where you kicked a lot of butt in different forms of makeup.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Do you see yourself headlining your own movie with just kicking butt? And for Jake, how did it feel for you to interact with another character named Nick?
confusing for both of us.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm gonna contemplate and see if I want to keep going and kick butts. But you know, no, what I like is just like I like falling in love with the script that I read, and I'm really interested in relationships and stories. And I don't think it matters if it keeps being makeup or action. I'm just open for anything. I feel like I'll just dive into anything that I just like and enjoy, that I would enjoy doing. Honestly, I don't feel that rigid.
The hardest part of playing next to somebody else who was Nick, after playing Nick Miller for so long and memorizing all of Nick's words, was looking at the script, and my character's name was Vale and his was Nick, and I kept memorizing his lines.
Wow.
And I would look at the script and be really early, and I'd be tired, and I'd be like, I got this big monologue? I didn't think I had that many words today. And I'd be like, the rhythm isn't written for me. It seems too fast. And then halfway through being like, we've got to go over here. And I'm like, oh, that's Tom Cruise. He's Nick. Oh, okay, I'm Vale.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question right there.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I had the pleasure to see a screening as well last night. It was really fun. I was wondering, as this movie is part of a bigger, like, dark universe and whatnot, like, how much effort or thought was put into, like, sprinkling, like, hints or Easter eggs or things that kind of go throughout the movie that we should, like, look out for and stuff like that?
Thanks for bringing that up. I totally forgot to do that. Dark universe, Alex.
I appreciate the honesty.
Note cards next time.
The idea is to give you a satisfying mummy movie, first and foremost, and then in the context of that, plant all the seeds for the larger dark universe. And I think when you go back to, people forget that the Universal Monsters was the first shared universe. Started with Frankenstein meets Wolfman. That was the first time characters came together, and then they started growing and meeting each other, and long before superheroes did it. But what they did was each character got their own movie, a couple movies before they did that. So the audience got to fall in love with those characters. And I think what we want to do is make sure that, you fall in love with characters and then bring them together when the story tells us that it's right.
Absolutely. Guys, congratulations on the film. It's wonderful. When can people see the film?
June 9th.
June 9th,
Friday,
this weekend.
June 9th.
That's
Indeed.
right. Guys,
Yes.
The Mummy, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.